I'm Amy with Good Little Home, and I am so happy to have you here today doing the Merry Maker-thon with me. And I'm going to be teaching you today how to make this kind of farmhousey garland with the shell in the paper tassel. And there's one more important thing. Share, please, and give me some hearts. I love hearts. Okay, so now that those things are out of the way, come on in, come on in, come on in, and join me at my craft table. Get yourself some coffee, tea, whatever you're drinking. Isn't this cute? I made this with a maker studio too. Okay, so let's jump right into the materials that we're going to be using today. And that would be, let me move this out of my way. You're going to need some tissue paper. And I just got this, whoops, I keep forgetting you that way. I just got this at the Dollar Tree. And you're going to need one sheet of regular white notebook paper. You are going to need the Maker's Studio, I'm about to drop the box, gold leaf. You're going to need a piece of twine. And you're going to need some Mod Podge because, you know, you can't do craft without that. And you're going to need some gilding size. You're going to need a shell. I know this seems like a lot of you're going to need, but it's really not that much once you get started on it. You're going to need some little wooden beads, and I dyed mine, and I'll show you how I did that. And for tools, we're bringing out the big boy because you got to drill a hole in the shell, unless you buy the shell already drilled, which you can get them that way. And let's see, what else are we going to need? We're going to need a glue gun, and of course, scissors, some tape. Okay, so I'm going to move my camera down to my work area, and let's get it going on this one. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my shell piece, and I am going to grab my tissue paper. And figure out what I want on the shell. I think I kind of like the light pink flower, so I'm going to put the shell over that. And I'm using a fine point black Sharpie, and I'm just going to trace around the shell. And I'm not tracing this part because when I cut it, I want to cut it to a V there. Okay. So I'm going to grab my scissors. Yes, I always do a rough cut first. Can you guys see it? Hope I'm not sliding off camera. Okay. So here's something interesting, you guys. I never went to kindergarten, so, you know, my scissor use, it might not be right. Don't laugh at me. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut out as close to on that line as I can get it. And if I forgot anything when we were going through what you're going to need, just jot it down as we go. Okay, so now I have my piece of paper, I have my shell, I have my Mod Podge, and I'm going to be applying my Mod Podge with one of these little foam brushes, and you don't need very much. So I'm just gonna spread that on. Okay, I'm gonna put my little brush aside and take my little piece of tissue paper. I'm just gonna slide it to where it needs to be on here. And then I'm going to put on a second coat of Mod Podge over the top. We're going to set this aside and let it dry. We're going to go on to the next step. By the way, you guys, I found this really cool thing because I call myself the messy crafter. I just went to Dollar Tree and got one of their sponges and stuck it in this bowl, and I fill it up with water. And then when my fingers get dirty as I'm crafting, I can just wipe them off. I love it because, like I said, I am a messy crafter. All right, so our shell is drying, and while that shell is drying, let's talk about the beads. This is the ones that I finished, and they'll be ready to go, but I saved 4 of them for you guys. And I'm just going to take my gilding size, which, talk about a messy crafter. Last night, you guys, when I was setting up, I spilled this down the front of me and all over my floor. So my floor of my craft room is now ready to be gilded. And I like to use a small brush to do this because I'm not putting very much gilding on. So I'm just dipping in, and really, seriously, just randomly, I like to do 3 on each bead. So there's 3 little spots of gild on there. 3 little spots of gild on that one. And if you've never gilded before and you're kind of afraid of it, this is a good thing to start on because it doesn't have to be perfect. There is nothing perfect about it. In fact, the more random it is, the better it is. Okay. So now we need to wait for those to come to tack. And I'm just going to skip around on this project a little bit, you guys, only because of the time factor. So when you do this, if you want to like wait for things to dry before you start the next step, go right ahead and do that. Okay, so this piece of paper, I have already put the script on one side, and I am going to wipe off my Mod Podge from my work area. And then I'm going to turn this over because I want it on both sides. Because when we're done making our tassels, sometimes the second side shows through. So I just decided to do it on both sides. So like I said, this one's already done. So I'm just going to take, this is the Maker Studio French script stencil. And I'm just going to stick this down. And this is just regular notebook paper, you guys. And this actually works on regular notebook paper, so don't be afraid of it. It will pull off. It won't rip the paper to shreds. And then I'm going to take some of my gel ink, and this is in black. And move this up here so y'all can see, because I'm used to having an overhead camera, and I don't have it today. So working a little bit crippled, but that's okay. All right, then I'm taking my spreader, and when you buy your spreaders from a Maker Studio, they look like this, and I don't like to use them that big, so I just take my scissors and cut off a slab. So that's how easy that is. Okay, now I'm just going to take this gel, the ink, and I'm just going to put a line of it there. And put the lid back on because if I can spill it, I will. All right, so I'm going to use the long edge. And I'm just going to pull this right across. And then I'm going to go back the other way. Make sure I got the whole paper. Okay, and I'm done with that. I have a water bath here off camera. I'll show you real quick my little water bath. And I'm going to be throwing my transfer into that so I can clean it later. But I don't want things to dry in the transfer, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that. Okay, now you ready for the big reveal? Uh-oh. This one smeared a little because I just used the transfer, but that's okay. We can work with that. All right, so this needs to dry. And I think I'm going to go ahead and speed dry some things with my hair dryer. All right. There is nothing that you can make a mistake on that we can't fix. So, all right, that is the front of the script. That's the one we just did. And not to worry that it's a little smudgy. If yours comes out a little smudgy, it's okay. Okay, now I'm going to dry the shell some. All right, and now I'm going to drill it. So I have found the best way to drill these is upside down. Actually, the best way to do it is to buy them pre-drilled. But it's not hard. So I'm just using my DeWalt drill. And here's the hardest part. When you do this, you need to start slow, because if you go too fast, your drill bit's going to try to jump all around on you. So start slow and let it get going. And then you want to pull the trigger faster. Oops, see, it slid on me. Pull your trigger faster as it gets down into the shell. And there we go. So, like I said, it's not hard, but if you're not a drill user, then don't freak out. Just buy one already drilled. They have them at the craft stores and Amazon. Okay, I'm going to finish drying this one a bit more. Okay, and now I'm going to put the size on this. Okay, so I'm just going to start by going around the edges. And I do want to cover up that edge of the paper with the size, so make sure you do get at least that much into it. And up to you if you want to do this flat edge or not. I guess I'll go ahead and do it. And I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Oops, can you see? I'm sorry, I keep going off camera. Like I said, I'm used to having an overhead and I don't have that today. Okay, so I'm just putting it along the edges. All right, and now I'm going to put that aside again and let that come to tack. Then my Mod Podge is a little bit wet too, but we're going to keep rolling just because. And remember to put the lid back on your size so you don't spill it all over your craft room floor and make a huge mess. I could have gilded my feet last night, my floor, my table. I had size everywhere. Okay, so now I'm going to take my little beads that we put the size on before. And this is my, whoops, here's one I was playing with yesterday that's almost done. Okay, this is just my scrap gold leaf. And I'm just going to take and pour these in there. Oops, that stuck with its size. Shake them around. And make sure that they get the gold leaf stuck in all of the little spots. All right, now I'm just going to take a chip brush. It looks like this. And again, this one is an Amy Howard at Home. Maker Studio also sells these brushes and they're really nice. But if you don't want to get them from there, they do have chip brushes at the dollar store. They're just not the same quality that these are. Okay, so now I'm going to take each bead and I'm going to take my chip brush and I'm just going to go over them and get the gold leaf off where it's not stuck into it. And here's the thing. The more that you burnish over this with your brush, the brighter and prettier that gold is going to get. But you can see this is something you could do like a lap project while you're watching television, getting your beads ready. And I'm going to back up here in just a second and show you dyeing the beads. Oopsie, I should have shown you that before I gilded them, but it's okay. Like I said, it just kind of, we're just getting it off and shining it up. And I used, let me think, this is going to be a 12-inch, and I used 2 beads per inch. I think these are 6mm beads, if that sounds right. So that's how many beads you're going to need for your project. You're going to need 2 per inch of however long you want to make it. All right. That was pretty. Let me get to where maybe it's in focus. So each bead just has like 3 spots of the gold on it. Okie dokie. And now let's talk for a minute about dyeing the beads. I just used this, and it's just some regular food coloring. And I squirted a generous squirt into some water. And I will say, be careful on this part because you will end up dyeing your fingers. that blue doesn't come off easily, let me just tell you. Okay. So I'm just going into my bag. This is how they come when you buy the bags from Amazon. It's a giant bag of beads. So I'm just going into my bag of beads, and I'm going to pull out some beads, and I think I do like a dozen at a time when I do this. And I'm just going to stir them around and let them get good and saturated with the dye. Okay, and then get my hair dryer out of the way. I've got a paper towel here to put them on to drain. Okay, and those will be dry in about an hour. And so if you want to kind of time how to do the whole project from start to end, like I said, it takes about an hour for this to dry. Usually I give it like an hour for the Mod Podge to dry, but you can see you can work back and forth between these things. And the on this, it dries instantly, so you don't have to worry about wait time for drying on that. Okay, so on to the next thing. We're going to go back to the shell, and we're going to check for tack with our fingers and see if it feels, seriously tacky. I don't even know how to explain it. It should have like a little bit of pull to it. It shouldn't be wet. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put the gold leaf on this. Now I'm using the Maker Studio gold leaf, and it comes in a book with 25 pages, and you can see that it has it really is a book. Let me pull this one off. It has the little spine here, and the way that you work with this normally when you're doing a gilding project is you're going to pull a page back and wrap it around, and you're going to get it with your thumb and make like a little pleat in it so that you can like turn it upside down and right side up and be able to work with it that way. But if you don't have confidence in your ability to do that, on this particular project, we can cheat a little. Whoops, my fingers have size on them. And we can just take our shell and push it into the leaf. And then take the leaf, double it back up on itself because we want to get both sides. And again, the Mod Podge was not as dry as I like it to be on this one. I'm rushing it a little bit, but we'll see what happens. All righty. Then I'm going to pull this tissue paper off that I didn't use, and I'm just going to run my fingers around the edges and kind of burnish it on. And again, the more you rub and burnish, the brighter and prettier your gilding's going to become. But I have a feeling that we have gilding stuck in the Mod Podge on this one, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll figure out something. All right, so now I'm going to take a chip brush again, and I'm going to remove the excess from this. And sometimes, you guys, you get happy mistakes like this. Like I didn't mean to get that, but my fingers were sticky from the Mod Podge, and so some stuck there. But you know what? That's kind of pretty to have that little shimmer of gold on there. So we're going to leave that. All right. And then this side might be a little more challenging because, like I said, I didn't let the Mod Podge dry all the way. So I'm going to go back to the shell I was working on last night, which still needs to have this part done. Make it all shiny and pretty. Everybody having a great Saturday so far. It is finally, I live in the Phoenix area, and it was almost 100 degrees again this week. And today it has dropped down into the 70s. It's absolutely gorgeous outside. So when I'm done here, I think I'm going to go play outside and do some outdoor crafting that needs to be done, as in painting furniture. Okay, so this one, when I was playing with it last night, I don't know if you can see it very well, but I purposely drug some of the gold leaf down into it just to make it more interesting